So I didn't know anything about this book, and this article appears to give this book some high praise. Maybe the high praise is warranted, maybe it's not, but it definitely caught my attention. Namely, and you guys know I always say I'm an art guy. If the art gets my attention, I can be swayed by a story. Even a story I might not have been interested in immediately, some good art can sway me. So let's take a look at this article right here from First Comics News. Tomorrow or today, Planet Death #1 arrives. The biggest comic event of the year explodes onto stands tomorrow with Planet Death #1. Blockbuster screenwriter Derek Kolstad, John Wick, New York Times best-selling writer Robert Venditti, Superman 78, Green Lantern, and visionary artist Tomas Giorello, Star Wars and Conan, delivers 64 pages of blistering sci-fi action as Corporal Scott faces down impossible odds to complete his mission to single-handedly destroy the massive world annihilating weapon garrison on Planet Death. That definitely sounds like a hairy situation. Planet Death. Okay. And like I said, I always say this, symmetrical art. When art is proportioned correctly, I immediately like what I'm seeing, and that makes me want to look further. Now, sometimes, look, there have been times that I've seen books with good art that I began to read, and the script was, let's just say, subpar, and it was hard for me to continue. Some books outright, I will admit, some books I have not been able to continue. The script was just that bad. So, yes, I am an art guy, and art can carry a book. There can be a script I'm not generally interested in. The art is good enough that I grow to love the script. But that doesn't mean if the script is just terrible, I'm going to be like, whatever. No, it's got to be at least decent, at a bare minimum decent. But this art, I think, is well enough done. To ring in Planet Death #1's imminent detonation, watch John Wick creator and writer of Planet Death, Derek Kolstad, shed some light on our hero, Corporal Scott. Don't miss the opening salvo of this blockbuster epic. Head to your local comic shop and pick up your copy of Planet Death #1. I might head to the comic book store today and see about this. We'll see. I don't know. That's the video. I'll post the link to this article in the description. You can go watch the video. This explosive 64-page issue of the record-breaking series premieres in a high-end deluxe prestige format. And this article is giving this thing all kind of high praise. I don't know exactly how they're doing this if it's not out yet. Well, maybe they read it in advance and it's actually that good. $5.99 is not bad for 64 pages. $5.99 is a steal. I wouldn't have a problem if this was $20 for 64 pages. I wouldn't be mad at that. Although, look, I'm glad the price is what it is. I might pick it up just based on that alone. From the minds of blockbuster screenwriter Derek Kolstad, creator and writer of the box office dominating motion picture franchise John Wick, and New York Times best-selling writer Robert Venditti, along with artistic visionary, they already said this in the beginning of the article, I don't know why they repeated this, millions of miles from home, hundreds of ships descend into the stormy atmosphere of a hostile frozen world. On board, an army of resolute men and women brace for the coming assault. They are an invasion force on an impossible mission. Destroy the devastating enemy weapon garrison below. Corporal Scott and his battalion are in the vanguard, but the human forces are no match for their brutal alien adversaries. Scott's battalion is dead within moments. He is the lone survivor, The landing force annihilated. The battle is lost. Against overwhelming odds, Scott dares the unthinkable, cross behind enemy lines, survive the lethal landscape, evade capture by ruthless enemies, resist natural predators, face human deserters, and finish the mission single handedly, locked in his suit of full combat battle armor, sustained only by what he can carry and driven by Earth's wrath. Scott must do by himself what an entire army could not: destroy the weapon, return home. Okay, I like that premise. I can go with that premise. It's not. It definitely is not the most groundbreaking premise I've ever heard. But to be honest with you, a story doesn't have to be like so groundbreakingly original, but it does have to be good. Kind of like the book that I reviewed the other day, the Thor versus Godzilla. It's not like this was the most groundbreaking original story, some hero versus Godzilla, that I've ever seen, but it was done well enough. It was super enjoyable and the art was good. And it was the kind of book that made you fall in love with the story, especially with that epic battle between Thor and Godzilla. Godzilla the God Butcher, as they called him by the end of that book. So this, even though it's not a super intricate story just on its face, depending on how it's done, and if this is done by the dude who wrote John Wick, I would imagine that they probably put some real good effort into this. When I was growing up, I was never one to give attention or much attention to independent comics. I would say, I don't know, Image was independent, but it was like big independent, if that makes sense. And of course, I gave it light. And there was some other comic book companies. Valiant Comics have a few of those books, but I really didn't give them the time of day. But as I've gotten older, and maybe it's just due to the current state of comic books in the majors in general, but I've given more of an eye towards some independent companies, and I have been thoroughly pleased. I think a lot of these companies are picking up the slack where some of the major companies have kind of dropped the ball slightly. And so I'm not down and out about comics. I know some people are more doom and gloom and they feel like comic books are at an end. But I think we're actually at an inflection point where there could be, I'm not saying it definitely is, but it appears to me that there is a potential comic book renaissance, because what I'm seeing from these independent companies better stories and consistent quality art. And I think what that will do, especially as these companies rise, of course, the majors, they have to see this. It's not like they don't see it at all. That excites me because I'm like, okay, you're in the position that you have to know if you drop the ball too much, somebody else is going to pick up that ball and run with it. And I've said this before. None of these companies that we have at the top are guaranteed to be at the top forever. So somebody else inevitably will come along and take that top spot. Could we possibly be in that time where we see somebody in the Western market take the top spot over the big two? I mean, maybe not. But all of the competition that I see, all of the books like this one that I see coming out, I'm actually excited. So I might call and see if my local comic shop has this book, and I may pick this up.